could be a base or even a back spot. Yeah, how's your flexibility? What are you doing tonight?
Nothing, yeah.
Why don't you come over for a sleepover?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for helping me out earlier at practice today. What exactly is going to happen during the sleepover?
I was really hoping to hook up with Ava at the sleepover tonight.
Where are the other girls? And the other girls can't make it.
Harlow, if you want to hook up with Ava, you know you've got to move fast, right? Like, she's already talking to Liana.
So, why don't you come cuddle with me? You look cold. Yeah. Where should I sleep tonight?
Right here, silly.
In our same beds?
Oh, yeah.
So, make it on purpose?
Well, of course. Would you care if maybe we just, like, stayed the night here?
I mean, if we can't go to the sleepover, you might as well.
All the girls on the squad are lesbians. That's why we all have sleepovers. It's secret code.
Look at yourself. You're beautiful. You just have to have a little more confidence in building experiences. Like, I just feel like it'd be so hot to have you, like, boss me around. Sure, let's deal with it. Do you want to try? Everyone's gonna love you because you're freaking amazing, dude. And you're, like, so hot. So, once you get her alone, I don't like her, really.
We're here together, so we don't have anything to worry about. I guess you're right.
Scene 2 deepens the film's emotional architecture by shifting from communal initiation to intimate mentorship, using Aubrey and Harlow's evolving interaction to explore how queer longing often travels through instruction, reassurance, and shared vulnerability rather than direct confession. And the scene opens quietly, almost modestly, with gratitude exchanged after practice, immediately situating intimacy within care and competence rather than spectacle, as Aubrey's anxiety about belonging and performance mirrors the familiar queer fear of being exposed as inadequate or out of place, while Harlow's calm reassurance establishes her as a stabilizing presence whose confidence feels earned rather than performative. And this dynamic reflects a recurring pattern in lesbian communities where experience is often translated into guidance, creating bonds that feel safe because they are framed as support, yet charged because emotional validation is rarely neutral for women who are unused to being seen. Without judgment, and the dialogue's focus on technical improvement becomes a language of attention, a way of saying I see you without violating social expectations, reinforcing how women are taught to express closeness through productivity and improvement rather than desire. And when Aubrey responds to this affirmation with relief, the moment resonates as a small but meaningful act of recognition, one that many queer women will recognize as the first crack in emotional armor, when competence is acknowledged not as obligation but as potential. And the invitation to stretch together continues this pattern, transforming a routine athletic practice into a space of shared presence, where bodies are acknowledged not as objects but as sites of effort, fatigue, and care. And the emphasis on listening to one's body subtly counters cultural narratives that demand women override discomfort for approval, suggesting instead that attentiveness can be a form of self-respect learned through relational support. And the conversation about soreness and exhaustion broadens the scene's thematic reach, connecting personal vulnerability to collective labor, as both women articulate the toll of constant striving, a condition that speaks not only to athletes but to women navigating institutional pressure more broadly. And the proposed sleepover, initially framed as group bonding, carries layered significance, representing both inclusion and possibility, while Aubrey's hesitation reflects the careful calibration queer women often practice when entering spaces where intimacy is normalized but not named, and Harlow's reassurance that the gathering will be harmless and communal underscores how women's closeness is socially permitted so long as it remains coded as innocent. A permission that can feel both protective and limiting, and the encroaching storm becomes a symbolic interruption, an external force that collapses plans and redirects intimacy inward, creating an unscripted opportunity for connection that neither woman explicitly seeks yet both quietly accept, and the logistical conversation about whether and safety foregrounds responsibility and caution, traits culturally expected of women, while simultaneously justifying the choice to remain together, illustrating how queer intimacy often requires plausible deniability to feel permissible, and when the sleepover is effectively cancelled, the disappointment expressed is gentle yet telling, revealing how much anticipation had already been invested in shared time, even if neither character had articulated why it mattered. And the decision to stay together reframes isolation as companionship, affirming that presence itself can be enough, a sentiment that resonates deeply within lesbian experience where being with another woman can feel grounding even absent explicit romance. And the subsequent turn toward rehearsal and planning allows intimacy to deepen through collaboration, reinforcing how shared goals often serve as safe conduits for emotional closeness, particularly in environments that reward discipline and achievement. And Harlow's admission that this is her final year coaching introduces a note of urgency and legacy, positioning her as someone negotiating endings as well as desires. And Aubrey's admiration for Harlow's confidence reveals a longing not only for connection, but for self-possession, highlighting how attraction among women is often intertwined with aspiration. And when Aubrey confesses her interest in Ava, the scene pivots from subtext to explicit vulnerability, yet still avoids sensationalism by grounding desire in uncertainty and self-doubt, illustrating how queer women are frequently delayed by fear of misreading signals or disrupting group harmony. And Harlow's response, practical yet intimate, reframes attraction as something that can be learned and practiced rather than passively awaited, a perspective that challenges narratives of queer desire as either innate certainty or forbidden impulse. And the ensuing guidance about confidence and presence operates on multiple levels, functioning as romantic advice while also modeling how mentorship can slide into emotional entanglement, raising questions about power and intention without resolving them simplistically. And Harlow's emphasis on eye contact and attentiveness underscores the importance of being seen and seeing in return, a theme central to lesbian visibility, where recognition often precedes declaration, and Aubrey's nervousness and self-comparison reveal the internalized scarcity many queer women feel, believing affection must be earned through performance rather than offered freely. And Harlow's reassurance counters this narrative by affirming Aubrey's inherent worth, suggesting that confidence is not arrogance but permission to occupy space. And as the instruction becomes more experiential, the scene carefully maintains a tone of consent and mutual awareness, emphasizing emotional impact over action. And Aubrey's observation of how she feels becomes a moment of self-recognition, illustrating how queer awakening often manifests not as sudden revelation, but as a quiet alignment between internal sensation and external presence. And the repetition of reassurance that boundaries will be respected reinforces the film's ethical framework, insisting that intimacy must be chosen, not assumed. And this insistence stands in contrast to cultural portrayals that conflate desire with inevitability, offering instead a model rooted in care and agency. And the scene's refusal to rush toward resolution allows space for ambiguity, acknowledging that mentorship and attraction can coexist without immediate clarity, a reality familiar to many queer women navigating close communities where roles overlap and stakes feel high. And the closing expressions of appreciation and comfort emphasize continuity rather than climax, framing the interaction as part of an ongoing process of becoming rather than a definitive turning point. And through this restrained approach, Scene 2 critiques societal discomfort with women's intimacy by refusing to either erase or sensationalize it, presenting instead a textured portrait of connection that honors complexity. And for queer viewers, the scene offers recognition of familiar patterns. The slow build, the careful testing of safety, the way guidance can become a mirror, and for women more broadly, it speaks to the universal desire to be encouraged, understood, and met with patience, affirming that intimacy grounded in respect and attentiveness is not transgressive but deeply human. And by situating this story within everyday concerns of practice, weather, and routine, the film insists that women's love for one another belongs not at the margins, but at the center of lived experience, contributing quietly yet powerfully to conversations about visibility, authenticity, and the courage it takes to remain open in a world that often asks women to make themselves smaller.